Hey everyone, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Just getting started here. Um, and we'll be doing a one-on-one lesson today with Halvard Gilde, aka Halgilde, who's joining us. He redeemed a lesson a little while back. We're backed up, but slowly just trying to get get through them. And yeah, long time dojo member. Great to have you on as well. How's your chess been lately?
It's been frustrating at most times, but for 14 days ago, or a little over a week ago, I decided to drop all my blitz playing or my the little blitz playing I had, and mainly focus on slow chess.
Hmm,
Uh, so
that's
so it's
good.
been
That's a good
yeah.
change. Um, what uh, what else are you normally doing? I know you sent me a bunch of your classical games from our tournaments, and by the way, you did a really good job annotating those. I want to say because it feels like you're really trying to figure out like your own mistakes and why you made them, and just like trying to improve. So I thought you did a really good job with that. Are you doing anything beyond that, like the annotating games?
I'm doing puzzles. Um, Trying to do some on chess.com. Got 25 daily puzzles there when I don't have the diamond membership. And I have created my own puzzles from my own games. So I have like between 250 and 300 puzzles from my own games, which
Hmm,
I missed either some tactics or
right.
um, done some wrong. And yeah, I wrote a little about it on the Discord, telling how I did it. And that's mainly how I work. I puzzle a little with the chess space, trying to slowly build my repertoire. Uh, it's not connected to any special opening. It's move by move build. Uh, if I meet a new move in a game, I will put it in my repertoire after the game and try to find out how to
Right.
reply.
Hmm.
So it's a slow process.
Yeah, I'm curious about the puzzles you make from your games. Like, how often are you reviewing those?
Oh, daily. Either I can find one game and spend 10, 15 minutes, or I could do 10 at the same time. So it's really based on how much time and how tired I am after work. Um, but it's when I sit down and don't have any games, it's puzzling, and I have been so lucky and start doing puzzles once in a while with Steve North,
Hmm,
finding puzzles from both his and mine games, and discuss and find possible solutions.
nice, nice.
So
Um,
it doesn't have a right answer in my puzzles, because it's not finding the move who instantly lose, or it's more like maybe a missed tactic I didn't see. So I uh, and my my sort of teacher correcting me. It's stockfish. It's and if I don't understand the move stockfish comes up with, I
yeah,
don't use it.
right.
Um, it's out of the window, and I'm going to next on the list. So I
Yeah,
have to understand and why the move is there.
yeah, that's a good policy. Um, Have you also tried the Lichess puzzles at all?
Yeah, a bit. Not that much. I'm using chess.com more. But I have some. Let's see, I think puzzles. Yeah, 2000. No, 1300 puzzles
Mhm.
on Lichess.
Yeah, I like their system where you can like choose your category. I think that's cool. You can also do it on chess.com, but then it's like custom and I think
Okay,
it's
yeah.
not often rated. But
So do more team-based puzzles on Lichess, maybe.
I mean, in general, yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm not saying you should specifically do it, but just that's
Yeah.
just a good way to train tactics, I think. Um, yeah, so well, actually, let's talk a little bit about your games. What do you feel is like, what do you think are your main issues or weaknesses that you think you need to improve?
Um, I get chess blind. I could miss obvious tactics. I can miss hang pieces hanging. Uh, I I often choose the wrong mindsets when to attack. I'm getting scared and becoming more passive. Uh, when I should become more passive, I rush into attack. So finding the balance between yeah, working in defense and offense is yeah, struggle a bit there. Uh, uh, Deep calculations or calculations if it's several replies. I struggle to have calculate different lines.
Hmm.
Forgetting the first line I try to calculate when I'm calculating my second line, and then the first line is out the window. So uh, um, yeah, more the dynamic or mechanics of calculation, visualization. Um,
Hmm.
I'm trying tried to do some puzzles, not moving the pieces, but write down the moves. Uh, that made me have a better mental picture of the position. But in game, that's hard. So visualization and remembering my own calculations, even if it's small calculations.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fairly common issue to have, but I feel like you described it uh, really well. So that could be something we talk about, just how to work on it a little bit. For me, I've always felt like that's very much uh, working like a muscle. So just the more consistently you train it, kind of the stronger it feels. And if you let it go for a while, then you get rusty. Um, but I think the fact that you're playing 90 plus 30 games, and then as I've seen, reviewing kind of what you calculated in your annotations, um, that's one of the best practices already. Like for me, that's as good as like solving tactical puzzles and then reviewing them. It's like maybe even better because in a game you're like fully focused and it's kind of the hardest puzzles that you have, right? Because you don't know there's a solution, you don't know on when which move you'll have a tactic, so it's like
Yeah,
really more difficult, I would say, than just solving tactics on your own.
yeah.
So that's already good training. I think you'll get a lot of benefit from that. There are specific things you can do to work on your visualization. I don't know if you've tried this Chessable course that's called like Visualize.
No, I tried Chessable when it came for some years ago,
Hmm.
and the problem is I didn't remember, even though it's built to make people remember. I can't remember a 10 line. I have to understand from one, and it didn't. I think the Chessable books are more explaining now. I
Right.
might revisit it, but uh, I haven't been in there in some years.
Okay. Yeah. I would try it again because nowadays it's not just the like the opening courses, but they just have like regular books just
Mm,
in their format, and they have a lot of just courses that are just kind of like tactics courses. It's just like a collection of puzzles. The solution, is kind of like annotated and explained, and it's yeah, no different than working through like a puzzle book on your own.
yeah.
The visualized courses are cool. I know a lot of people. I think DM Hoki is a big fan of them. They're cool because they like ask you, they prompt you to like visualize several moves ahead and then find a tactic from there. So maybe I think they start with like one move ahead, two moves ahead, and then
Oh,
you're asked to kind of like find a tactic from that future position.
if TM Hockey does it, I have to because he's my nighttime coach at the dojo.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah, I think
he,
he really recommends them.
yeah. Nice.
And
He
then,
teaches me lessons all the time.
oh, nice. Oh, cool.
Not good ones. It's
Good ones.
hard life lessons.
But I would consider giving that a shot. Now you could also try some. Yeah, we just gave you a shout out at the end. um, you could also try doing some uh, blindfold chess or even blindfold puzzles. Although this is obviously going to be harder. But I think as David kind of showed with his video, or he did like a number of streams that I think we put on YouTube. Um, I think like anyone can do blindfold, and it's just getting started. That's like kind of the hardest part, but it's I think really really good for your visualization overall. And um, yeah, I think most
That
players
uh,
benefit.
then I'm a fan of Sages, so
Yeah,
I think one of his books will be considered
yeah, his books are
as
are
well.
great. Yeah, I feel like for blindfold chess, it's kind of like it's almost like meditation. It's like you don't even have to do it correctly. It's just the practice of it makes you a better visualizer. I think just
Yeah.
really good training. Um, so all right, let's talk about some of your games. I'll grab this one that I found interesting and I'll put it in. Um, actually, let me actually do this one. There was a couple of interesting moments in this game. Okay, so this was a semi-Slav. You played it with G3, and I actually really like that you went for this opening. It shows like you're not afraid to sacrifice a pawn if you feel like you get some compensation out of it. I think that's a good approach to have.
Oh yeah, I remember this tactic. Yeah.
And then, okay, you end up winning the pawn back, but that just shows, yeah, kind of the tactical possibilities of White's position. But I actually
And
want to
yeah,
just
okay,
jump
yeah.
to the in game, and I wanted to ask you about this moment here. I don't know how much you remember about this one. You played it a couple weeks ago.
Um, double. Think I don't remember this moment. Um,
Yeah. Do you remember this
uh,
game overall?
yeah, I remember the fight I had with the queens on b3 and b4 with my knights, trying to save something there. Yeah, that moment there, that was a real problem for me. I didn't see a good solution. I think he had some chances here. Um,
Yeah. Um, Actually, we could talk about this moment as well. I thought this was an interesting one. So this feels like a moment where you might have been like struggling with your calculation.
yeah,
So could you take me through like what was your thought process like here as much as you can kind of
I
recall?
think mm, the the big problem in my calculation here is the hanging pawn is e2.
Sure.
That's sort of making all my lines end up with if that goes, it's a bad line. But it was I think it was a couple, yeah, two possibilities to get out here without uh, doing too bad. I think it was here. It was night 93.
Hmm. And in the game, I mean, I imagine you were worried about, let's say, black taking here, taking here, and then taking this pawn.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I had several exchanges where that was the end position. So um, I had a hard time finding a good solution.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting question. And then just looking at this position here, you lost your the pawn that you had extra, but if you were just to evaluate this endgame at like face value, how would you evaluate it?
I would say white has a good position. I'm not too afraid of playing white here, I think.
Yeah, white is better. Maybe you could just put into some words as to why you like white here.
Uh, you have the isolated pawns to black. Uh, I have a good diagonal on my bishop.
Hmm.
I could even get a good diagonal, or I don't want to trade the back squared bishops because as the I like the black bishop where it is now, stopping the castling. Can activate my have to activate my F rook, putting it in the on E1, and then it's starting to have a semi-open line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, I would say white has big advantage here. I mean, that's like a lot of, small advantages you named, but they really add up. Having one weak pawn you could target in your opponent's position is already good, but here you have two targets that are very easy to attack, right? This one your bishop is already hitting. This one you have like an open file, and you have like kind of nice lead in development as well, especially after like rook e1.
Ah,
So,
good
so
spades. Yeah.
yeah, I would say this position for you is definitely quite nice. But the problem is that like we're up a pawn, so we want to keep our extra pawn, even
Mm.
if it means a position that actually could be like somewhat harder to play. Because I would say that endgame we just looked at, very easy for you to play. You just have these weaknesses. All your pieces can develop. If we look at what you did in the game, let's say take, 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 knight b6, rook a7, you end up keeping your extra pawn. But my feeling was that this position was not super easy for you to handle. Uh,
Yeah, I sort of let Black activate his pieces and consolidate his position.
right. Yeah, now black is not really behind in development, and the king in the center is actually kind of a good thing. You're still up the pawn, but it's like also hard for you to use your extra pawn because it's
Yeah, I
on the
think
file.
a2 pawn is hanging at the moment.
Right. Then, but I mean, you do hold on to it, so like you
Yeah.
do still actually keep, I think, a pretty big advantage. But yeah, like
But
honestly,
but but my rook on a1 is not in the game. It's passive.
yeah, it was it was passive for a little bit. Though I think you do hold on to the pawn though. Like it's it's still a very very nice position, but just maybe not the easiest one to handle in
Yeah.
terms of like practical terms. So this is one thing maybe to think about. It's like just because we have an extra pawn doesn't mean we should be, let's say, totally unwilling to give it back. A lot of times it's a very practical decision to give the extra pawn back, but leave yourself with a position that's very nice to play. And yeah, just for example, again, the end game here, it's like you're probably going to be winning a pawn uh, in the future, and it's kind of like an evaluation. You're just evaluating your position to be so good that eventually you will win material once all the pieces come into the game. And we can just play a few moves out to see how this might happen. Already, Black's bishop has a hard time finding a good square because bishop a6, we're just taking this one immediately. Bishop b5, there's going to be c4. Bishop d3 can continue to get chased. Maybe the bishop is going to h5. I'm not really sure, but let's just follow like you mentioned bishop a3. Actually, maybe you wouldn't want to do because it lets black trade. But even if we make
Yeah.
this move and we allow black to trade off,
You
we
can.
double on the a file very easily. Knight comes to c4, and then yeah, we're definitely going to be winning that a5 pawn. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
another way to say this is that when we're evaluating exchanges, a lot of times it's very useful to think about not necessarily the pieces that are getting traded, whether our bishop is better or their bishop is better, but rather looking at the position that you're going to get and just deciding whether you want that position or not. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so this is maybe, yeah, one thing you could consider like kind of including in your thinking process when thinking about exchanges is just looking at like that future position and trying to evaluate that one. Um, but yeah, let's go on through the game. And so this was an interesting moment because you played rook c3, which looked like you kind of wanted to double on the c file and put pressure against the pin. Black played rook c7, and then we played bishop h3, so kind of
I
taking
think
off
the
the pressure. Yeah.
rook c3 was to get the rook over to the e or f file. It was just a lift.
Oh, so you're trying to go this way.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, then I would wonder why not consider this move, or maybe you did and didn't like it. Doubling against the bishop on c4.
Yeah, I think I had a line on that, but I I think I didn't come well out. Bishop takes, d takes, rook takes, rook takes. Even now I have problems. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Doesn't that just lose the exchange?
So you're saying if white takes on c4?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're threatening to take on c4. Though the issue
Oh,
is
okay.
that for black, it's well, it's hard for black to make a move, right? Because if one of the rooks moves away, then you do
Yeah.
take on c4.
Yeah.
You're right in that I don't think you want to take immediately because then, yeah, black just takes with the pawn and the king can come
Yeah.
in or take with rooks. Yeah, yeah, you're definitely right on that.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, but I'm saying now he can't move his bishop either. So I have locked down his queen side.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's big problems for black like king d7. There's bishop h3. So black has to like start making pawn moves, but those will
Yeah.
eventually run out. And yeah, at some point you can also consider pushing your a pawn.
Yeah.
Now, of course, a big question is as well what happens if black takes on f1, but then
We'll
we're
take. Yeah.
just trading everything. And
Yeah.
how would you
I think
evaluate this endgame?
I have good chances here.
Should be good for white, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just analyze a couple moves out. Let's say black plays king b6, and I'll have you play white.
Okay. Let's see. Did it?
Oh, king
Did
e2,
it?
sorry. I'll play here. Okay, let's say we go here, back.
Mm, this is a draw.
Um, I think it is if I play the right move here, which I think is king a5.
Yeah, because then you take, yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, basically waiting for king c3 before playing here,
Yeah.
and just shuffling back and forth. So yeah, this one is actually just not easy for white. I just thought it'd be interesting to try it out because it looks like it should be winning. Like you have the outside protected pass pawn, and
Yeah.
pawn on b3 is weak, but somehow it's not possible to zugzwang black. I think though, I think white is still winning up until this point, but the point is you have to find a way to enter the king side. I would say actually g4 makes it a little bit more complicated. But this is the moment where you kind of have the second idea for your protected pass pawn. Like, first idea is that black's king is stuck defending against it. Second idea is that you can use it, as a decoy
Yeah.
um, to divert the king. But let's actually try to calculate this out rather than moving it. So what would happen on a4?
You would get back with the king and taking it. It's um, oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Uh, you have no problem reaching. I could even go to the fifth before the king has to sort of get after it. This so oh, but I'm blocking.
So what happens here?
You have to go before king before,
Yeah,
or
black
else
has to go king b4.
yeah. Uh, yeah, but does can I go king f4 then and get inside from on the king side?
Right, king f4. Black plays king takes a4, and then
King e5,
king
e5.
e5, and yeah, you're winning the
Yeah,
d pawn, and then yeah, winning that endgame. So this is kind of like key idea white needs to know. I actually just want to look at this one because I often I've been watching a lot of king and pawn endgames lately from like rapid games and blitz games, and oh man, people miss these kinds of ideas all the time. It's like yeah, we just forget that we can use this pawn. So
absolutely
yeah,
correct.
better try for black would be to play f6 here. And then I think white needs to revert to the previous plan, which is to go
Yeah,
g4. Let's say takes. And now let's take a look. If we take this one, play here, take this one, then yeah, white's in time, and we're just running
Yeah.
the f pawn. And probably also good is g5, and then taking with the king also
Yeah. Same.
looks good for white. But yeah, just very kind of useful idea for these kinds of endgames. Okay, so yeah, this game unfortunately um, went wrong for you, but you're actually, I thought, playing very well. And I think just in these last couple moves, basically it just took you too long to get the king in. Like the king should have just been coming in a lot quicker. And I
Yeah.
think you should win the end game. But Black's king instead got very active, and we ended up in trouble.
Yeah. I
Um,
remember how he won now. Yeah.
right. Let's go to the next game. Game two.
Oh.
So this was
Yeah.
one of the Alekines that you sent me,
Yeah.
and I guess I had a question on this moment. I don't know how well you remember this one, but we played e6 and allowing white to take and kind of double the pawns.
Yeah. I think I messed up uh, earlier. Um, I think by doing that I ruined my center. So I have to try to remember how um, I think I should have taken earlier with the. It feels like this is one of the games that I uh, don't remember how to play. The moves that I have been trying to uh, get into my repertoire. Uh, so here I don't understand. I didn't understand the position. I forget all opening principles. Um, I'm not. And when I get something like that, then I will get uncomfortable. It's just hard to come up with more plans. It hasn't. It has happened sometimes lately where I just basically miss out in the opening and has a nightmare of a game. Um,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the opening actually. How how do you work on the Alekine? Has it been your main opening for some time?
yeah, or it's Alakine and it's I play the same structure against both E4 and D4. It's similar. I think it's similar to the King's Indian Defense march. Um, and I've, when I played at the club, OTB, every player played either French or Caracan or Sicilian or so the when I played the Alepin's defense, it's kind of surprised my opponents a bit more. So then it's often depends on how white plays, but it's transposing sometimes to Turk or even French sometimes. So and that's what I have seen lately. That after trying to play Alekhines defense, after 8 or 9 moves, it's basically more French defense rather than anything else. So, and then have to try to read about the French and trying to find out what the ideas and thoughts about the French is to understand more what the possibilities are. So, but I think I know it's a bad opening if White knows how to play against it. I think a narrow line for White to play, and if he plays, he wins, or he has to find the path.
Yeah. So okay, I don't know how much you're invested into this opening. My feeling is honestly you'd have I think an easier time with a different opening. Um, and this is okay based on like you sent me 10 games, and the games where you played as white, I thought you were handling like really comfortably. Like most of them, you were better. Some winning. I'm just talking about like kind of like out of the opening, like judging your positions. Um, and then the games you sent me with black, I think it was mostly Alekhine and like one King's Indian. I felt like in all the Alekhines we were basically struggling, and it's not like your opponents really knew the theory. It's just that it's a difficult opening to play.
Mm.
So I'll show you just kind of my perspective on it. Like okay, here we played e6. Yeah, I agree. We should take first and then go e6. Then I think your position is actually uh, quite fine. Like it is a very playable opening, but I'm not sure if it's the best opening for you because you're giving up a lot of space as black. It's kind
Mm.
of like it's a little bit incongruent because you're a d4 player, which typically means you kind of like having the space advantage and fighting for the center. And then with black, you're playing like almost like a reverse opening from a philosophical point of view. The King's Indian might also not be the right choice, although I do like the King's Indian a
Yeah,
lot.
I know.
But yeah, while I do think all these openings are playable, it's a question of whether it's going to make your life easier or not. So this was one example. Let me just bring up a different one.
Yeah, and I have to find alternative openings both in white and black because when I did join the dojo for 4 months ago,
Hmm.
I've been part of the classical tournaments and the verified tournament, and
Hmm.
now I people in the dojo they prep,
Oh wow.
so
Yeah,
so I have to find some more strings to play on.
you got to figure out
Yeah.
some surprise weapons. Um, well, I mean, I think the the best openings are the ones that we can play even if the opponent, preps for us. I mean, everyone knows I play the King's Indian for several years now, but I still use it in classical games, especially because I believe it's one of the few openings where computer prep can not only, let's say, not be that useful because the positions are so complicated, but can also even lead someone into very exposed position where they like have to find computer like moves in order to keep their advantage. But if they don't, then black can take the initiative. But yeah, like I think if the openings you're playing are solid, then they should hold up, even if the opponent preps some moves, because you know the ideas and you can play the middle game, and no one is going to play like Stockfish after they leave their preparation. So there'll
Yeah,
always
yeah,
be a middle game to handle that.
yeah,
Hopefully is fine. Okay, this is another game where I think your opponent just makes natural moves here, and okay, you play this move e6, which I think is a natural move, but it turns out to be a mistake. Um, because like, okay, it's too early. You should play bishop g7 and castle first, but still, it's kind of like a reasonable move you made. Castle's knight e4, and then we played c5 here. Now, it might feel like a mistake in calculation as you wrote, but like I also think the problem is we just don't have a great feeling like for the opening and like what we're supposed to be doing.
yeah,
So yeah, long story short, I think this is again, it's not a bad opening. It's very playable, but I just feel like you would have a much easier time playing something a little bit like more solid, like where you can just fight for the center in a more direct way, get castle developing. Um, Main thing I would suggest, if I could just build your repertoire for you, would be Caro Khan. I think this is an opening that's just like, again, just super solid. You get your pieces out. In the French, you have to deal with this blocked bishop. I'm not a huge fan
yeah,
of it, but in the Caro, like bishop gets out. There are different ways to play it, so it's not like you have to learn very specific lines. You can try different structures and see what works for you. And yeah, like very few, I would say, like sharp theoretical lines when someone can just like prepare 15 moves against you and try to like catch you in some opening tricks. Not that I think this happens a lot in other openings, but okay, something like the Sicilian, you have to worry about that a little bit, that people can play some sharp lines against you. In the Caro, it's like if white does their job and prepares well, they'll get a small advantage and you'll still get a structure that I think will be pretty logical for you to play.
yeah.
Um,
But Caro is mainly against e4 openings. Does it does the same ideas works against the d4 as well?
there is like a similar opening. You could play the Slav defense, and
Yeah,
generally
yeah,
these two are kind of paired together because you get similar structures and stylistically they're pretty similar. Like you're just playing for solid position, you're trying to control the center. This one you might get into a little bit more trouble because it's not as easy to develop your light square bishop.
mm,
Because if you develop it too early, then a lot of times you have to deal with like queen b3 type ideas. You probably have seen this a little bit as a d4 player, so
yeah,
you understand that this bishop is not so simple. I'm not sure if I would recommend switching from the King's Indian. Like I think that opening can suit you because it is like a pretty strategic opening, and you don't have to like survive any tactics in the opening. It's more just like you do fall behind in space, but then you have to carry out some kind of plans in the middle game to
yeah,
get
yeah.
counterplay.
Maybe, yeah, differentiate the openings against the e4 and d4, and maybe still keep the King's Indian and trying. It's easier to specify in my repertoire when it's one specific opening instead of being a universal opening.
Right, right. Um, so yeah, and I don't think you should be spending a lot of time on the opening at all. In fact, I think you could watch like a 10-minute video on the Caro Khan and you'd be ready to just start practicing it in games and just kind of getting a feel for the positions. Though one of the
Oh,
best ways to practice an opening is just like with a training
I
partner.
wish it was that easy. Watching videos, it's that's just briefly letting me get to know. I have to deep dive and write, and I'm so bad at remembering, so I really have to get it under my skin.
Okay, that no,
So
that's fair. And I mean, okay, one thing you can do is you can play along, like play the moves as you're watching, maybe on a board or like on a analysis board next to you. Actually, I often used to do that when I was watching like opening videos. I would just follow along in chess base actually, and I would like make the moves, and I would like see if there's any like interesting games that came from that position, and then I would
yeah,
like pause the video and like look at some games. So you can definitely make it a lot more active, and I think that would be better overall.
yeah,
But okay, the other part of that is of course playing. Like I would ask your training partners to play a bunch of games against you in the Caro so that you could uh, just
you hear
start
that?
getting used to all the different possibilities.
Hear that, Steve North? You have to start playing Caro-Kann against me.
Right. I know Steve needs some practice too. Actually, that sounds like a great idea. He's looking for something killer. He can try different stuff against you, and you could
Yeah,
even tell him, you know, I'm playing Karo Khan. You prepare whatever you want, and
yeah,
I'll be ready to defend it.
yeah,
Or you guys can even, this is something I like to do as well. You can decide on a specific variation. Let's just say, like, you know, I've been begging Steve to learn this line for white. You guys could say, like, okay, this will be the starting position of our game. You both go and study it however you'd like for, you know, 30 minutes to an hour or whatever. And then you come back and play a couple rapid games. And you can do this for any variation you want. I think it's a great way to actually practice specific positions because then at least you're starting off with something kind of tangible versus, you know, you see this position for the first time in your life, you play some random move g6, okay, turns out not to be a good move, and like
yeah,
that's all you learned from that game. Don't play
yeah.
g6. So it is nice to get some a little bit of studying in. um, by the way, if you wanted an opening that was similar to the Alekhine against d4, I would actually say the Grunfeld stylistically is a lot more similar because here you're also kind of giving up the center to white's pawns. But then the idea is to attack it with like your pieces and pushing c5.
Yeah,
So
I
just
think
just an option.
I've been in something similar to that in some of my games.
Cool.
Grunfeld. Yeah.
Um, okay, so yeah, I usually have, I don't know, more like middle game and end game oriented insights. But yeah, looking at your games, it was just very clear that with white, I mean, like I thought your games were really interesting and for the most part, like well played. Like they're following, you know, this kind of like logical path. And then with black, like every game we're just like struggling in the Alekhine that it's like just not worth it. I think. Um, okay, we talked a little bit about calculation and how to work on that. Um, any other questions you have for me?
Uh, no, it's as we said, it's the visualization and calculation. Um, uh, it's more the work methods during the game to remove blunders. I think I'm in a phase where that's a focus for me now, and it's just being precise. And as Steve said last night, it's do the job.
Yeah.
So, um, so it's I'm I was more curious if out of the games you could see clearly something I really had to work on, and sort of this is my weakness, and this could be uh, suggestion for the remedy to my weakness?
Um, yeah, good question. I mean, I don't like to make super quick judgments
No,
because
we've talked 1 hour. You need
yeah, well, because I'm never like fully sure, but I would say, I mean, the concrete side of things is really important, and strategically, like the way you're playing, I thought was very solid, and usually, like if a player has issues, they're either going to be related more to the tactical side or more to the strategic side. And I can see that strategically, I'm not really seeing any obvious issues that you're having, right? So that must mean logically that like your weakness is probably more on the tactical, concrete side.
yeah,
That said, it didn't seem like you were. There were some blunders, but they usually happened. I feel like in already kind of bad positions, and so that's more just like you ended up in a bad position and then blundered from there, not necessarily a tactical thing. Um, but definitely, it feels like yeah, we could be doing better at like just kind of calculating a little bit more during the game, and like you said, just calculating a little bit more clearly, being able to hold different variations and compare them. It's a very general kind of thing because this is something that like any you can always improve it. It's never going to be at its maximum. Um, but yeah, probably focusing on it. I mean, wouldn't be a bad idea for you.
yeah. And I need to get more control over the pawn structures. Or get a better understanding of the pawns in the game generally, because it feels like it's almost by chance in my games now.
Oh, I see. That you feel like you understand the pawn structure.
I know I have to do some studying and learn, so I can understand. I do not understand now.
Gotcha.
I'm playing by chance now, and I want to understand. So I think um, I have to do some work.
Yeah, I I
So
think that's always useful as well. That's like those are just some broad things that are I think just going to be helpful to everyone. Like okay, working on your calculation, but also just studying high level games in structures that you play to get a better understanding of how to play those positions and what are the typical plans and ideas to watch out
yeah,
for.
I tried the Zurich book 1953,
Oh yeah.
but I didn't feel it. Uh, I was hanging on at all. So I that book I put in the shelf and will pick it up when my understanding is more advanced. But now it was way over my head.
Oh, I
Um,
see. Yeah, from what I remember, the annotations in that book are kind of sparse. Like they all the games are like lightly annotated, and then there's just some brief notes, but it's not like
yeah,
it really explains. Yeah.
absolutely not. That has to be a candy in the future for me, because everyone recommends it. But at
Hmm.
this moment, I'm not ready. So
Okay. Um, well, there's lots of books of annotated games, and you can also. Well, I feel like you have a good grasp of how to work with the computer. Like you were saying, if the computer solution to a puzzle doesn't really make sense to you,
yeah.
then you kind of
I,
disregard it.
or I even can nice collection of books. So if it's clearly an idea that I can look up in a book and try to get more information about that move. But in the end, if I don't understand it by either reading or uh, it's not getting into my system.
Right.
I have to understand.
Yeah. I think that's honestly more important, like the quality of the work that you do over the quantity. Because
Yeah,
it's not about like, let's say, memorizing what we're looking at. It's more about like internalizing it so that it actually kind of makes sense to you. And that's what gives us a chance to use some of the ideas that we learned in our studying.
yeah. And that's what's been so frustrating the last 3 4 years, because I feel I've been at the same level all this time and put down all this work and still not uh, climbing the ladder. I'm at the same
Hmm.
place, but now when I joined the dojo, I got new motivation, and I'm hopefully starting to see some results of what I've done.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know what you mean. It can be frustrating to feel stuck, but you have to, I guess, you have to believe that what you're doing is helpful. And I
Yeah,
think you have to also kind of enjoy it uh, for its own sake. Like personally, I really like looking through games and well annotated games where the ideas are kind of explained. And
yeah. I like doing that as entertainment. I'm not that good seeing the. It's probably have a educational value, but I don't do it for the educational value. I
mm,
do it for. I enjoy the chess. I enjoy how other players looks at the position.
hmm,
So, but it's not with the intention of learning.
right. Well, I think it happens just kind of naturally. I think just seeing enough ideas over time, I think some of them will stick. Um, and and then yeah, I think the concrete side, just trying to strengthen like your visualization and your ability to find moves. This is something I think just like can help pretty much all players, like any level. It's just like always something that can uh, immediately help you in games, right? Because it's like every game will have something concrete to analyze, and maybe you analyze it clearer or faster, but there's just like, yeah, always a benefit from working on that side.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a, knowledge versus skill divide. You have your chess
yeah,
knowledge and then the actual chess skill, which I think is no less important. Some people say it's 99% tactics or 99% skill, which is okay, slight exaggeration, but yeah, super important part of the game as well.
yeah.
Well, okay, let's end it there.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Uh, I'm soon up to another redeem, so um, I hope we'll see each other once again later.
Likewise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Best of luck, and I'll talk to
Thank
you
you.
soon. All right.
Yeah. Take
I'm
care.
gonna. Thanks. I'll see ya.
Bye.
I'm gonna keep streaming here for a bit, guys. We'll be back in just a sec. Alrighty. Yeah, Levy is a good guy to watch for Caro. I agree. He's a longtime Caro expert. Yeah, guys, I'm glad you enjoyed the lesson. I feel like they're like a win-win-win. We get to make content. You guys get lessons. It's all good all around. Um, yeah, no, all good, Daster. All good. I've learned to just focus on the lesson when chat is chat is getting too active. What is a high level feel of Caro versus French? I think officially the Caro is a little bit more popular at the elite levels. It used to be like, E5, then C5, and then Caro is like clear number three, and French is kind of like a distant fourth. Um, but yeah, you don't see the French too often at the really high levels, but you do see Caro a bit more frequently. Are there moves that you shouldn't play until you're a certain level? Honestly, it kind of depends. Like, we were talking about during the lesson, I didn't feel like the Alekine was a great opening for Halgilde, but for a different player, it could absolutely be the right opening if it kind of suits their style. I think there are openings that are difficult to play for lower rated players. Like I would say the Alekine is usually one of them. I think the French is an opening that's tough to play for um, low rated players. King's Indian can be, again, if you're not really like accustomed to it and haven't looked at some of the typical ideas. Uh, but I mean, ultimately, it just comes down to the opening that's right for you. What about moves like H4? Well, I mean, H4, it's we can't really say anything about any move. I mean, it's like in many positions it's going to be a good move, and in many positions it's not, right? So it really just depends. You definitely don't have to be a certain rating to play the move H4. Um, so, like with all moves in chess, it's just going to have to be evaluated on a case by case basis. B3 playable. I mean, not the main move because it's not fighting for the center, but definitely playable. Yeah. Um, yeah, so I won't be on for too much longer here. I'm just going to plug a couple of our coming up shows. So later today, we have a US Chess School class with, let me see, who we have today. With Eugene Perlstein, our friendly grandmaster. And then, so that's at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And then at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, we're doing the Chess Punk Awards with our special guests Neil Bruce and Andres Toth. And that'll be fun. We'll be giving out some awards to the Chess Punk community on Twitter. Then 7 p.m. Pacific time. After that, we're gonna have the Friday Night Ladder with AFM Hughes. He'll be covering ladder games or games that people play during that time that are in our ladder tournament, which is just kind of the simple and open classical event. And then I think we might be doing. Actually, I'm not sure if we're doing Friday night fights after that. That might be off for tonight. Yeah, there is a gauntlet tomorrow at 1 p.m. I don't know who's doing it actually, so hopefully someone exciting. And then Sunday, we have a lot of events. First, we have a sub battle at 10:30 a.m. against Anna Rudolph. Actually, we still need players for that. So if you guys want to sign up for it, join our roster on Arena and then sign up for the event on the specific event page there in the chat. So we need a few subs to play in that still. and then we're gonna have our big Team Europe versus Team North America match Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. And that's going to be rapid chess, 2 game match. Sign up is in the Discord. Um, so yeah, and that's open to everyone. You just have to join the right chess.com club to play. Yeah, it would be great to get Anna Rudolph on the gauntlet. I will try to ask her, see if she'll be interested. And then looks like Dojo Scrubs are coming back on Sunday as well. So Sunday's going to be a big day. Okay, cool. I gotta run. I gotta make some videos here in just a sec. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. Let me find someone to raid with our viewers for views. Yeah, why don't we raid the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz? We've been raiding them every day around this time, and they've been hopefully you guys have been enjoying the live games. I mean, world's best players, rapid chess, super exciting. What's not to like? All right, guys. See y'all next time.